witness one here. Yeah, the great deception is here. Everybody's so deceived, they don't even know what they're doing. You know? Yeah, they are. I think people getting gang stalked. Look here, here's a gang stalker right here. Just walking down the road. People getting gang stalked and they don't even realize that they're getting gang stalked. Or they do. They're 100%. You know, I seen a few people getting gang stalked around me. This guy back here, if you can see in my mirror there, that white car. I saw him get gang stalked the other day for, I don't know, at least 3 hours from a guy that was a landscape guy with one of those backpack blowers. And I mean, he sat over there by that car for 3 hours in a pouring rain. It's about 5-6 days ago. It was raining all day long. I mean, just pouring, and this guy just stayed right by that white car, blowing that blower at him. After he finally left, that guy loaded up his car and left. I think he's being stalked. I think there's lots of people who are being stalked who are aware of it and just dealing with it, you know. But it's here. I mean, I don't know if after you'd been stalked for so many years and stuff, do you ever think you could go back to it being the same? You know, would your life be the same? Could you live a normal life? You gotta ask yourself these questions. Hell no, you couldn't. You know, the demonic government we have is, you know, that's what it is, completely demonic. And it's been just hidden right in front of everybody's faces this whole time. And, you know, the satanic agenda. Look at there. There you go. Look at that. What do you think that is? There's some more firefighters that want to get lured into the mountains and maybe an unstable person might take them out, just like the other ones. This is for entertainment purposes only. See, there ain't nowhere you can go, you know? It's like 9/11. I was looking at a video of 9/11. Look, there's the cop right there, too. Did you see him? The highway patrol. He was with them. It's like 9/11. All them firefighters were in there trying to discuss that it was an implosion, that they had detonated it and took it out like they do any big skyscraper, and they did. And people are aware of it, and they still didn't do nothing about it. You know, they still didn't do nothing about it. And everybody's completely aware of it, but they're still doing nothing about it. So a lot of these people are just unwilling participants in it. I mean, they're willing participants in it that don't know, because they're under mind control and that hive mind mentality. You see the race to space and all that stuff. They started using that MK Ultra and all the technology on people back in the 60s and put it up there. You know, heck, we can't even survive. They won't let us, you know. They won't allow us to do enough to get ahead or whatever. Like I said, you can pray to God all you want, but it ain't gonna change. A lot of you are out there, if you're involved with a church and doing ministry work with a bunch of so-called Christians and stuff, it's not work. They're deceived too. Your ministry work is even a deception. Everything is. All the people who are coming in your life are gang stalkers. Either a lot of them are willing participants of it, and they're all playing a part, acting a part. That's it. The whole world is a stage, and everybody's an actor in it. You understand? The whole thing is a psyop setup. It's like Trump, and I put a post out the other day that said some girl found that all the presidents were related. Obama, JFK, Bush, all of them were related. But they all had an ancestor that came from England, like a great-grandmother or something. Little girl found this out, except one guy, right? And so you got to get creative if they're blocking you for your work and your stuff like that. You got to get real creative to make it, you know. And sometimes it's tough, you know. You'll get down to nothing, and so you got to go out there and try to join up with them paid daily temp service. And if they gaslight you, just keep playing your game until something breaks. You'll be able to make a little few here and there like that. You know, paid daily temp service, People Ready, Labor Max, whatever paid daily temp service is in your area or whatever. Or you might have to go through a paid weekly temp service. But get on Craigslist. Look at gigs. Look at jobs. Chase stuff that way. Get on Craigslist and look at services rendered. Sometimes you got to get a phone book or get on there and start calling people. Call up construction companies, ask they need a guy for help for a day or two, and you can get work that way. You got to get creative. You got to start pounding it. You see a guy building a house, go over there. I got a lot of jobs. I seen a guy building a house. I went over there and asked him and just told him I didn't know how to do nothing but pick up trash, but I'd learn. And, you know, they would pay me cash daily. You know, help build houses. Had an Amish guy when I was over in Missouri. I seen him building a house by himself over there. I jumped out, said, "Hey, can I have a job?" He says, "Yeah, if you start right now." And I said, "Okay, I need money to survive. I'm living in my car. I need paid daily." "No problem." And so he said, "How much you need?" I said, $18 an hour, but I normally get 20. He said, "Well, just come on, let's see what you can do." So I started it immediately, started helping him. He put me to the test, and by the end of the day, the man was paying me $24 an hour. Cash money every day. You know, don't get me wrong, they weren't all long days or nothing. It was only a couple days a week. But, you know, it still was money. You got to get creative. You got to think outside the box and start pounding it. You got to go to Lowe's, Home Depot, hold up a sign, ask them contractors, just keep trying till something gives, you know. And sometimes you just got to sit there and wait. Waiting on the Lord is a huge theme. Waiting on the Lord is a lot of the things you're going to be doing is waiting on the Lord. You spend so much time waiting, I just can't even believe it. Where's he at? I don't know. I don't know where he's at. But he ain't who everybody portrays that he is. He is not who everybody says that he is. He is not those things. Another thing, people you're learning from about Jesus. They're all Masons. The American church is 100% completely Masonic. They make things happen that imitate the Holy Spirit and blessings and stuff. If you notice, things will happen for you if you're involved with them. If you're not involved with them, guess what? Ain't nothing happening. Ain't nothing happening. Those people have endless resources to trick people into another Jesus, like Paul talks about. A different Jesus, a different spirit, a different gospel. Yeah. Read about Paul talking to the Corinthians about how he was homeless and worked hard with his hands while the church was rich. They were homeless, freezing, starving, all that stuff. You know? So that's how you know. Because you will be, and when everything goes wrong, you're in the right place. All right? And a lot of that stuff with God is you're going to have to do it on your own. God ain't going to just give it to you. He might help you out here, and don't get me wrong, he might help you out here and there. But for the most part, you know, you're going to go through a lot of stuff that other people ain't going through. And they're going to see you going through it. Everybody around you. And they know that it's real, you know. And so you're Charles Stanley. See this town here, right here? This town, a very famous pastor lived in this town for 20 years. His name's Chuck Missler. Chuck Missler lived in this town and made a fortune, so much of a fortune that he finally moved to New Zealand and died there. But Chuck Missler, if you come to this town and come to the churches that he was involved with and everything, you will find that they're all apostate. They're all Masonic. Chuck Missler was a Mason. Charles Stanley is a Mason. Chuck Swindoll is a Mason. Everybody in this town, in these churches around here, are Masons. There's a church right outside the right of my car right here, right now. it's Masonic. Those guys stalk me all the time. You go over here to this church and they're affiliated with that church. They're all Masonic. It's like when you go into church and you see that red and blue flag they got, the Christian flag, that's Masonic. What they're doing is mixing their Jesus with a whole bunch of other different things. You know, and I'm sorry to burst your bubbles, but God isn't who you think he is. The ones they portray at the church, he is not the same God of the Bible, you know. And God's, you know, the children of Israel prayed to God for 400 years in Egypt. They were slaves for 400 years, and he did not answer anybody's prayers for 400 years, you know. And there's another time, Samuel was the first person, if you read the book of Samuel, to hear from God in 400 years. And also there's 400 years of not hearing from God from the new Old Testament to the New Testament being written. Did you know that? Sometimes God's silent. When he took the children of Israel out of Egypt, they died in a wilderness that only took 11 days, 12 days to cross. They died with all of them walking across. They could have walked across that wilderness in 11 days, but they died out there because he could not get Egypt out of them. And don't think that you ain't full of Egypt, Babylon, because more than those people even. And those Masons, let me tell you, those Masons, they worship gods from Babylon, from Egypt, all that stuff. And it's here. It has been for a long time, you guys. This stuff has been set up to happen by these Masons, the Jewish Zion billionaires, and the Pope, the Jesuits, and the Vatican. It's like the Demolay group and the Masons. Did you know that it goes back to the Catholics, the Knights Templar? And they started off as a good thing to helping the people who wanted to go to Jerusalem to learn about God, but then they ended up in the occult, worshiping Moloch and becoming homosexuals. That's why all the Catholics, the Catholic Church has so many sexual abuse cases against it. They're all devil worshippers from back in the day. You know, Demolay was a known sexual boys being involved with it too. That's why the altar boys at the Catholic Church, see, they're all in conjunction together. The Catholics with the Masons, with the Zionist billionaires. You know, don't get me wrong, there's even people higher than them, like the 13 families and all that stuff, and the reptilians and the Nephilim and the demons that are really running the show. But, you know, you're pretty screwed because it's you against all of them. And they can turn this whole thing on you on a dime. And they use tech on your ass. And that technology is fallen angel, evil technology that they're using on you. Don't think it's just technology. It's not. It's demonic. It's demonic. They got you chipped. That's why you can walk out and go wherever it is that you're going and not have your phone with you because you're chipped. Remember back in the day when everybody was having the UFOs, they were getting abducted and stuff like that? It's because they were trying to get their DNA and all that stuff and chipped everybody. You were probably chipped in the hospital like a dog a long time ago. You know? All of us are chipped. So you guys got to, you know, start thinking outside the box and you know, all you're going to have is Jesus. But I'm telling you, he's not who you think he is. And you're going to go through a bunch of stuff, you know. And that's just how it is. That's just how it is. And, you know, they erased a whole bunch of my comments. So YouTube had shadow banned us, the ones who are telling the real truth. So, you know, you might want to you might want to, sorry, I'm having to adjust my phone here. Yeah, you might want to start rethinking some things. Like Israel. You don't want to support them. Really? Now, I pray. I know there's a Jewish remnant, so I pray for them. And there always has been and always will. So, pray for the Jewish remnant. It's just getting tougher and tougher out here. You'll get some prayers answered, but, it ain't going to be stuff. If he wanted to, he could change it in a moment, but he doesn't. So he must have everybody where he wants them. Just like everybody at the church and everything. You should have seen this place yesterday. They were off the charts stalking after they had all went in there and praised Jesus and everything. And then they come out here and stalk people and how they think they're going to make it to heaven. I will never understand that. It has to be complete, utter mind control. Yeah. And so, I feel sorry for the kids, because they're a major part of all this stuff. And, they teach these kids how to do that. They automatically do it anyway. They dress in red and blue. They stalk and do it automatically. There's no getting it out of them. They might be eating kids and stuff like that. They might be eating them and drinking their blood and adrenochrome and all that stuff. But they're, the ones that survive it, they turn into the guys that are doing it to them. That's why God got rid of, would kill whole the Midianites, the Canaanites. He'd kill them all because he knew he couldn't even get it out of their kids. And look, the children of Israel died. That generation died. It was the next generation that went into the land to take it. So he has to get it out of you. And you might die in the wilderness like them. Just things to keep in mind for your future out here. A lot of you think you're doing work with God, and it's all it is a setup to get your time and your resources and all that stuff. They'll send those gang stalkers in to act like they want Jesus and stuff. I noticed that stuff a lot with me, And, they're not going to probably find Jesus. Many are called, but few are chosen. They want to be like these people at church, and they want them to be like that. I've never met anybody giving or caring or loving in church. They were all actors, every single one of them. They were all hypocrites. They were all actors. So that's what I'm going to say about that. Get out of church.